Chapter 24. The Remnants of the Heavenly Yuan. The White Cloud Flying Boat. The flying boat stopped over the vast ocean and stopped flying. Gu Hai, Long Wanqing, and Grandmaster Liu Nian, at this moment together, looked towards a huge sea island in the distance. The sea island was more than several times bigger than the 9-5 islands. There was no vegetation on top of the sea island. Countless remnants of walls, vast ruins, as if it had gone through the wash of countless years, a bare piece. The only thing that was there was just some places that were pitch black, as if they had experienced the baptism of countless heavenly thunders a long time ago. This is Chunyuan Island. Gu Hai stared in surprise. Chunyuan Island wasn't rare. What was rare was that around this giant island, surrounding the island in a circle, the sky was black, countless dark clouds surrounded the giant island's perimeter, and the lightning bolt flashed in the dark clouds. A heart-shaking aura pressed down on the hearts of the crowd. Dark clouds covering the sky. Gu Hai had not seen them before, but he had never seen so many of them. Chunyuan Island was the size of the earth in the past. The amount of these countless dark clouds was as if it surrounded the entire earth of yesteryear. Incomparably magnificent. Not bad. This is Chunyuan Island. The dark clouds outside the island are the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation that is contained but not released. Long Wanqing nodded. Contained but not released, Gu Hai said in surprise. That's right, the wrath of the heavens has not yet subsided. The disciples of the game Heaven Pavilion who entered the heavenly remnant realm in the past, as long as they step out of the island, they will definitely be destroyed by the heavenly tribulation, even though they were lucky enough to survive from the great tribulation of 800 years ago. However, they can only live on the island's heavenly remnant realm, this life, and this world. As if they were prisoners, they were imprisoned here, and could not leave the heavenly Yuan Island, Long Wanqing explained. Then, if the Hall Master wants to seek help from the unsurpassed, how can the unsurpassed leave Chunyuan Island? Gu Hai was curious. The unliving person is not a disciple of the game Heaven Pavilion, Long Wanqing explained. Gu Hai was slightly stunned. Separated by a long distance, Gu Hai's visual power was not able to see what kind of people were on Chunyuan Island. However, he could see the surrounding sea, with a large boat heading towards Chunyuan Island. Apparently, also from all directions, to enter the innate remnant realm of the various parties of the strongest people. Gu Hai's eyesight was not yet able to get a glimpse of Chunyuan Island, but Master Liu Nian could. His eyes narrowed slightly and said, "It seems that we have come a step too late. Most of the people have already entered the heavenly remnant realm. Let's go." The heavenly remnant realm opens in a limited amount of time. If we enter a little bit earlier, we will have a little bit more time to search for the unsurpassed. Long Wanqing nodded. With a wave of her hand, the servant not far away maneuvered the flying boat towards Chunyuan Island. The flying boat might be precious and incomparable, and Gu Hai didn't see the appearance of a second one on the way flying past. It was about to fly to Chunyuan Island. Newt. With a crane cry, a huge immortal crane rushed up to the sky in the distance and came towards the flying boat in a fast speed. A letter crane raised by Grandpa. Long Wanqing's face changed. 9. The immortal crane was extremely fast, arriving close in the blink of an eye. Let it come up. Long Wanqing waved her hand. Yes. The servant maneuvering the flying boat not far away answered. Boom. The immortal crane landed in front of the crowd at once. There was a bang that set off a gale. The immortal crane was very large, and standing there, it was as tall as 2 people. Greetings to the first-grade Hallmaster. The immortal crane suddenly spat out human words. Demon. Gu Hai's complexion twitched. Why are you here? Long Wanqing frowned slightly and said, Hallmaster, it was the Lord who told the slave girl to come and look for you. But I didn't know where you were, so I waited for you on Chunyuan Island until I saw your flying boat. Immortal Crane spoke. What is it? Long Wanqing was puzzled. The Lord wants you to go back immediately. Something has happened to your sister. What? What has happened? Isn't Grandpa around? Long Wanqing's face changed drastically and said, she swallowed the demon ghost spirit. The demon has entered her heart and is fusing with her. The Lord found out a little too late. Although he suppressed the continued fusion, but it was her who voluntarily wanted to transform into a demon. Unless she changes her mind, otherwise, even if the Lord forcefully strips out the demon ghost spirit, her 3 souls will have to be the first to be transformed. The Lord can only suppress it for the time being. So he asked you to go back right away and persuade her to give up her demonization. The Lord said that she only listens to you, Immortal Crane explained. This dead girl, asking her not to touch. Why is she still touching? Long Wanqing was instantly anxious. Hall Master, you'd better come back with me right away. The Lord said that the later you go back, the more variables there will be, Immortal Crane said. Long Wanqing's face changed for a moment. After looking at the Yuan island, not far away, she suddenly had a look of reluctance. I'll go back with you right away, Grandmaster. It seems that I can't enter the innate remnant realm, so I'll have to trouble you for once. Please help me find the unborn. Okay. Long Wanqing pleadingly looked towards Master Liu Nian and said. Grandmaster Liu Nian looked at the sea island, and there was also a pang of reluctance in his eyes, but he still held back his desire and shook his head. My mission is only to keep the Hall Master safe. I promised your mother that I would only stay by your side. Sorry. Master Liu Nian shook his head and said. But this opens once in 200 years, a maximum of 1 year at a time, perhaps even shorter. I have to go back. I only have this one sister, but my mother's revenge must be avenged. Master, please, okay. You must help me, Long Wanqing said with a pleading face. Master Liu Nian shook his head. Hall Master, I'm sorry. Long Wanqing looked at Master Liu Nian, a trace of bitterness appearing in her eyes. However, Hall Master doesn't need to worry. Besides me, isn't there still Water Helm? Asked Mr. Gu here. Master Liu Nian laughed. Long Wanqing looked towards Gu Hai. Gu Hai, you go in on my behalf and help me find the unborn. You must, Long Wanqing said anxiously. Gu Hai frowned slightly. Hall Master, I don't know anything about the unborn. I don't know anything about the innate remnant realm. And I know very little about the cultivation realm. I'm afraid I'm not up to the task. Mr. Gu, Grandmaster Liu Nian, was the one who suddenly laughed. Master, this time, but because things have to be, only to ask you to help, sir. Do not excuse yourself. As for where the unborn are, what environment within the innate remnants of the realm, we have not gone in, the same as you. The Hall Master has family matters that he had to leave. This time we will have to trouble you. Perhaps this is karma. The Hall Master helping you to achieve the innate realm is the cause. You helping the Hall Master to find the person is the effect, Grandmaster Liu Nian solemnly said. Gu Hai frowned slightly in silence for a moment and finally nodded. All right, I'll do my best. All right, thank you, Gu Hai. Long Wanqing squeezed out some smiles on her face and said. Gu Hai had just stepped into the cultivation world after all, and although Long Wanqing had seen what Gu Hai was capable of, but there was some disbelief that Gu Hai would be able to find the unborn. Right, since we are going to look for it, I wonder if there are any clues. What does that unborn man look like and what are its characteristics? Gu Hai inquired. Long Wanqing shook her head. Nothing. Gu Hai's face stiffened. What do you mean there's nothing? No one has seen what the unborn looks like, and I'm not sure of any characteristics. I only know that he's in there. I don't know anything else. Long Wanqing laughed bitterly. Gu Hai, how is this going to be found? With just a name, is it possible to take a loudspeaker and shout people's names around? Master Lionian nodded. I know that finding someone with no characteristics whatsoever in there is like looking for a needle in a haystack, but that's how the matter is. that an sentient person naturally has its own uniqueness, and it is necessary for Mr. Gu to take his own time to look for it. And by the way, after you find it, you will give him the token. Long Wanqing gently took out a small box. Gu Hai took it and gently opened it to see that a mediocre hairpin was placed inside. You tell him that the One-Piece Hallmaster is dead. I'm the new Hallmaster and he'll understand, Long Wanqing solemnly said. Gu Hai nodded with a bitter smile. It was still unknown if the person could be found, so what was the use of this token? Don't worry, the Unborn is too proud to change his name. With this name, you take your time to find it, right? Before this, there is a group of other people in the One Piece Hall. Master Liu Nian thought for a moment and said, "Oh, the Earth Helmsman, Meng Tai, and a group of people from the Earth Helm. They also went to look for the unseen. If you meet inside, be careful," Liu Nian Master meaningfully said. Careful? Gu Hai raised his eyebrows, hearing a hint of something else from Master Liu Nian's meaningful tone. Arranging for Gu Hai, the flying boat brought the crowd to the top of a mountain peak on the island. Take care. Long Wanqing stood on the flying boat and said to the 4 people top of the mountain peak, "Hallmaster, take care, we'll do our best." Gu Hai nodded. Go. Long Wanqing gave an order. Boom. The flying boat flew rapidly towards the southwest. It reached the sky in the twinkling of an eye, leaving behind the 4 people. At the top of the mountain peak, Gu Hai, Chen Chonchen, Song Qingshu, and Gao Xianzi. Song Qingshu watched the flying boat leave, but an excitement flashed in his eyes, standing after the 3. Looking at Gu Hai's back, the corner of his mouth revealed a hideous cold smile. And just as Song Qingshu was glad that Long Wanqing had left, a hideous smile appeared behind Gu Hai. Who are you? Steeply, Gu Hai suddenly turned his body around and faced towards Song Qingshu. Gu Hai's sudden turn instantly startled Song Qingshu, and the caricatured smile he had just had was suddenly frozen on his face in shock, unsightly. Gu Hai turned around and stared at Song Qingshu in death. Chen Chonchen and Gao Xianzi also noticed the abnormality and curiously twisted around, just in time to see Song Qingshu's twisted, ghost-like face, and the 2 of them froze slightly. Gu Hai just stared at Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu was startled by Gu Hai and panicked in his heart, but quickly calmed down and stared at Gu Hai and said, "Helmsman, what are you looking at me for?" Gu Hai, however, suddenly smiled slightly and said, "The Hallmaster and the others have left. There are still the 4 of us left. I have just joined the Hall of One Piece not long ago. I don't know much about the Hall of One Piece, Song Qingshu, Chen Chonchen. You are disciples of the sect. You should know the rules of the Hall of One Piece. I would like to ask, what is the offense of committing a crime against your superior in the Hall of One Piece?" Song Qingshu looked into Gu Hai's eyes, but in his heart there was an inexplicable pang of panic. How could it be? What did he know? No, it was impossible for him to know. Song Qingshu forced down the panic in his heart and did not open his mouth, fearing that, if he opened his mouth, he would reveal the panic. On the side, Chen Chonchen didn't notice anything. Breaking the law below is of course a major offense, and in serious cases, it's even a capital offense. What is serious? Suppose a water rudder disciple wants to kill me. How is this a conviction? Gu Hai laughed. Gu Hai laughed gently, but in Song Qingshu's eyes, it was so eerie that a chill filled his entire body. He found out. He knew. The panic in Song Qingshu's heart increased. Of course it is a capital offense. A disciple of the One Piece Hall. Everyone deserves to be executed, Chen Chonchen rightfully said. A capital offense, Song Qingshu. What do you think? Gu Hai looked at Song Qingshu and smiled. Right, right, Song Qingshu responded with a flash of panic in his eyes. After staring at Song Qingshu for a while, Gu Hai finally smiled faintly and said, "So it's a capital offense. That's good." As he spoke, Gu Hai turned his head and stopped looking at Song Qingshu. But just now a small period of time, but it seemed like days and days long. Song Qingshu's whole person's nerves were tensed. In the blink of an eye when Gu Hai turned around, only then did he suddenly relax, but on top of his back, it was already drenched in sweat. Looking at Gu Hai's back again, Song Qingshu was a heartbeat away. Chen Shonshan didn't notice any abnormality, while Gao Xianzi steeply looked puzzled and glanced at Song Qingshu.